You are listening to the Overwatch Rundown, a weekly podcast covering the latest in the esports scene of competitive Overwatch. Today is February 11th, and we are covering the end of Stage 1 in the Overwatch League. Sort of a confusing time for some viewers, maybe new viewers, Jax.
Has it been 5 weeks?
It's been 5 weeks. We've had a playoffs, but it's not the end of season 1. It's interim playoffs. It's a weird structure, but that's where we're sitting at today. It's Sunday. We have a week off, Jax. Maybe in that week off, we have enough time to cover every single game that happened this past week. But jokes aside on that, this episode we're going to be really focused maybe about the final game. But this whole week, Jax, lots of games.
Too much going on. I don't have time.
Yeah.
This goes back to what we talked about last week. About the tier 2 scene being shoved in between Overwatch League games, and we get more of that this week. And I don't have time because we can't. We could not
Jax,
talk about the Overwatch League, and
when the money comes in, Jax, we could host an hour to 2 hour daily show, so that we can feed ourselves off of how popular we are because of.
I'm a big guy, Lupulus. I eat a lot.
Exactly. That's why we need all the viewership out here sharing our stuff. Okay. All jokes aside here on that too, man. We have no jokes, Jax. I am sorry. We just got to get right into this. So let's go ahead and talk about it.
I'm looking at the video you have here on your stream, twitch.tv/Lepulos. Where's the Blizzard World, Lepulos? I've been waiting for the Blizzard World run through here while I'm watching us talk about it.
Yeah, you know what? That's gonna be in the lab a little bit. I haven't gone ahead and put that in yet. We're waiting on some funds to come through the mail. But
no Blizzard World in Stage 2, by the way. No Blizzard World in Stage 2. I'm surprised. I guess they want to give teams more time to learn the map and practice on it. But I thought for sure we would see it. I really did.
I'm not too surprised about it. I'll be pretty happy. Just waiting on that a little bit. We'll see it maybe in some Tier 2, Tier 3 scene action before then. We will be covering some of that Tier 2 scene in this podcast later on. Not in depth, but some of the results coming out of them. But before we do that, we have to wrap up Stage 1 of the Overwatch League. I want to start off before we get into the games and discussing that.
If it's a wrap-up, it'll be quick then, Lupulus. There's plenty of time for Stage 2.
Well,
Tier 2.
Let's go ahead and just... I just want, off the top here, any thoughts you had about how this league started, like start of week 1 to where we are now. Do you feel like it's really improved? Any general comments?
Week 1 was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. Week 2... as we talked about, I was tired, and I was worried about the longevity of things because some of these games were a snore fest. I mean, just a bore.
Week 3 came by though, and that was sort of the opposite. I believe that week had, if I remember, 5 games that went to 5 series that went to 5 games.
Yeah, that was 6, I think. Look, I'm looking at it right now. We had the Valiant versus Gladiators, Boston versus London, Philadelphia versus New York, New York versus Seoul, Philadelphia versus Seoul, and Boston versus Dallas. And part of that, though, was 2 of the games that I mentioned: Boston beating London in Week 3 Leplos and Philadelphia beating New York. Both of those are huge upsets. Like, we came into that week thinking, okay, these Korean teams are just going to continue rolling on, and they didn't. They ran into brick walls. So that made the week rather interesting, and we had the continued decline of the Dallas Fuel. We were saying, they came out with they had a really strong, tough schedule, I guess, to start the season, and we're thinking, okay, sooner or later they're going to start rebounding. That rebound never happened, and it gave us things to talk about. It gave us stories, which is what you kind of need to keep the league going. We had Shanghai, who was trying to fight back. That's when they had a chance of beating Philly when they went to 5. And everybody's pulling for Shanghai, except they came up a little short. But week 3 is when things got really interesting. And then you get to week 4, and you're starting to look at the first stage playoff picture. And it's starting to take the shape of it is starting to get a little bit better.
And to be honest, it's funny because that week had a lot of 4-0s. But because of the standings and some of these 4-0s, say like London over Seoul or Dallas again falling to both Philly and New York Excelsior here. Interesting storylines were still happening. That led into where we start this week, Jax, which is Dallas Fuel. Like, here they are facing Shanghai Dragons. First question here. first match, first day of the week. Can Dallas Fuel actually win against Shanghai Dragons? The
Good point out. No
expectation.
Effect, Lepelos. Effect went back to Korea for personal issues. I think on Twitter he said he will be back this, sometime in the next couple days. So he took. They were out of the playoffs. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
They're out of the playoffs. So him missing this time, it allowed Coach Kakai to run some compositions that maybe he would not have normally run because the personnel was different. But Dallas without Effect, everybody's curious about that because Effect, more than anybody else, has been the carry for that team the last few months. So without their carry, how do they do against someone like Shanghai Dragons, who are
up and comers? Really, I mean,
up and comers, but still the weakest team in the league, having not secured a win.
Yeah, and here they are. They made it close, Jax. I'm gonna go through the scoreline here. 4-3 Eichenwald for Dragons to start it out. What a start there. 3-2 Horizon Lunar Colony. 2-0 Oasis for Dallas Fuel, picking up 2. On Dorado, Shanghai Dragons actually managed to take this one to force a game 5. 4-3 on Dorado, Jax. Wow. And then Lijiang Tower, another close map, but Dallas Fuel able to win this one out 2-1 there to take the series. Thoughts on the series, Jax?
I mean, no real big thoughts. Like I said, I still thought Dallas would win. I thought it would be a lot cleaner than this. But looking at Shanghai, they need. You can see they just need a little bit, Lepelos. They keep coming so close to getting this win, and then they fall short. I'm really looking at that team during this upcoming off period here, this off week, the midseason signings stage. They've got to bolster the roster. Roshan, guy needs some help with tanking. I'm sorry, maybe bringing a tank specialist coach for him. Free feel. The guy is okay with his killing. His ultimates are some of the worst levels. Absolutely dreadful transcendences coming out of him. You know me, I've been saying I want to see my man Zufan Jun brought in. Hopefully that happens. But good game here. I mean, fun game because there was nothing at stake here. You could just watch it and enjoy it and root for someone like Shanghai to beat Dallas. But that's about it.
Yeah. Speaking of games to enjoy, next one up were your LA Gladiators taking on San Francisco Shock. Unfortunately, they dropped the first map here to Shock, 3-2 on Nimbani. Yeah. Though from there, Baby Bay not enough for Shock. I mean, 1-0 on Horizon Lunar Colony, 2-0 on Oasis for Gladiators, and then they close it down here with Junkertown 3-2. Shore4 showing some life, mainly because his only threat was one person in Baby Bay.
That and Shore4 said he went back to his old mouse. So he's, it's.
Muscle memory still there for that one. Hasn't adjusted to maybe new settings yet. It must be personal coaching working on that, hopefully. Let's go ahead, talk about an important matchup with playoff implications for the third match of day one. Valiant versus Seoul Dynasty here, and it was great play coming out of the Valiant.
The previous week, Seoul, preseason favorites to win the first stage, Seoul Dynasty. Last week, week 4, where we talk about the playoff picture taking shape, they lose to London 4-0. They get pushed to map 5 against the Houston Outlaws. And if Houston doesn't completely throw it away with poor team compositions on Lijiang Tower, and if Linkser wasn't out with the flu, who knows, right? That could have been 2 losses for Seoul last week. So coming into this one, I think who did we pick? Did we both pick the Valiant here, or did we both pick? Who did we both took Seoul?
We both took Seoul here.
Dynasty. Okay.
We both took Seoul here. For the record, I picked Shock, so I'm already down 1.
Levels, I told you. First game of the week, the shield is pristine. It's been restored. The armorer did its work, right? First game of the week, we're good. We're Gladiators. Second game of the week, we'll see, won't we?
Yeah, okay.
But here, Lepelos,
Dynasty, we picked you Dynasty, but unfortunately you're running Guido. And Jax, if we make game day predictions, anytime you break out that Guido right now on support,
if
until it works, I'm going to pick against you if I had that choice.
We both said we will take Seoul, but see what we said, if they bring Guido in for Ryu Jae-hong like they did before, they will lose. This time they bring Guido in for Toby, and I'm left scratching my head because it makes no sense. And sadly,
our asterisk didn't cover that.
I do want, right? I want post-match interviews with these coaches. I want Zoe to do it, or Malik, or someone.
Yeah.
They have to be asked these questions, Lepelos. Why are you running Guido on support? I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
It makes no sense. Do what?
I mean, just on a side, I do hope Overwatch League goes to coaching interviews after, like, players are emotional and they can't say a lot. Coaches should be quote unquote the villains
I
here.
need the decision makers.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
you say villain. Explain this. Explain what they did last. You bench
Exactly.
Ryu Jae-hong, your team captain, for Guido?
Yeah, no, it's here not working out.
Okay.
Although what is working out, Valiant, Unko soon
Mm.
coming alive. Very great work. Soon adding to his ninja uh,
Hey, how does he do it,
abilities
man?
here.
Like,
He,
how does
I
he
mean, he
do it,
practices.
Lepelos? He practices being sneaky?
Yeah. Who in this game? Okay, whenever because it goes to Tracer often on the observer cam,
Yeah.
at least right now. Watch how much trouble they have at holding back their trigger finger.
True.
They can, like, they can usually sneak for all of like 3 seconds before they'll fire a couple of like warning shots to let them know that they're there. You know what I mean? Soon has that trigger discipline, Jax. He does, and that allows them to get into positions that allow them out. Jax, let's just go down the score line here quickly. Valiant 3-1 on Eichenwald to start out.
Okay.
Temple of Anudis 3-3 draw.
Oh.
Only need one more map, Jax. That comes from Oasis 2-0, but importantly, they pick up the fourth map here, 3-2 over Seoul Dynasty. Dynasty in trouble. They need a lot of things to happen if they want to get into the playoffs. Valiant also unique situation. They need a couple of things to shake out, but they put themselves into a pretty good position with
This
3-0
is unexpected. To be fair, the Valiant last week we talked about the Houston Outlaws missing Linkser. The Valiant Lepelos, they were missing even more. They had no Unco, they had no Silk Thread. So that was a rough week for them. They had a rough game against the Boston Uprising, which they lost 4-0. Huge playoff implications there.
Yeah.
But Unco and Silk Thread are back. We see what kind of impact they can have on the game here. Seoul, questionable coaching decisions. I can't believe I'm saying this because I praise their coaches more than anything else. They have the old Lunatic High coach. They have the old coach of GC Busan who outthought everyone in the final season of Apex Season 4. Like, this guy was a mastermind. And now they're outthinking themselves, Lepelos.
Yep.
So
trying to be too flexible with like their players and not maybe mechanics and execution oriented, and that's starting to cost them, I think.
I mean that, and it's not just benching Guido, right? Sorry, it's not just benching Toby. I'm trying to make sure that I have this right, or was it no, that's right. So the first map they benched Toby for Guido. In the second map, Lepelos, they bench Fleta and bring in Wakid. What? You bench Fleta?
Yeah, I mean, Fleta's on a hot streak. You shouldn't pull him off. It's their strategy here, but strategy didn't pay off here because their execution isn't there. Jax, let's go ahead and move on to the day two matches. Starting with another major one here, implications again for playoffs. Philly, Boston, these teams need wins in order to compete here for that one. And Jax, Fusion not playing to their opponent this time, let's be honest. Going to go down the score line, 1-0 Eichenwald Uprising, 4-3 Horizon Uprising, 2-0 Ilios Horizon, 4-3 Junkertown Uprising. Uprising here, Jax coming out big when they need to. Huge plays coming out of their DPS again in Striker.
At the end of the episode when we were looking at the preview, I said I'm looking forward to this. Carpe and Shadowburn, Dream Casper and Striker. It's not just that though. The entirety of the Boston Uprising stepped up, Lepelos. I in fact took Boston to win this. You took the Philadelphia Fusion. I couldn't pick Philadelphia because of how middling that they have been playing, Lepelos.
Yeah, and they're showing exactly that. I believe they've had Poco coming back in this week.
Yep, Poco did come back, but
did not have as big and impactful self-destructs as he had earlier in the season. I'm personally not surprised by that, but their play also not coming out that strong from him on that D.Va. And unfortunately, D.Va is a very, very important character to have in the current meta. Jax.
I mean, see, Lebos, just a quick aside. I'm looking at their scores from week 4, right? They lost to the Valiant 4-0. They beat Dallas 4-0. Then you come into week 5, they lose to Boston 4-0.
Yeah.
Where's the middle ground here?
Well,
it's either one or the other.
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous with them. They're a very volatile team, Jax. They can explode or they can be a dud. We don't know what we're getting with them. I was hoping they were going to explode here against Boston this week, that they're peaking. Apparently, I was wrong. We'll have more results from them later in the week, but let's go ahead and move into Game 2. On last Thursday, it was New York Excelsior, Florida Mayhem. One surprise here, Jax, but let me just run down the score lines. 2-1 Eichenwald, 2-2 Horizon Colony, Jax. 2-2. Florida Mayhem forcing a draw on this map. Interesting from them. Ilios, not a big surprise, 2-0 Excelsior, and 3-2 on Junkertown for the 3-0 victory. Jax, I am surprised Mayhem managed to get that draw out of New York Excelsior.
I mean, normally we see Big Boss Pine on Ilios Lepelos. I'm going to point out, though, this is I'm looking at the rosters here. Sobolbi did not play at all for New York Excelsior in this series. So perhaps that's part of it, why they were at least able to eke out a draw. Sobolbi, as you know, is, for me, quite possibly the best Tracer in the world. Tracer is another one of those characters like Right-Click Zenyatta who might need to be looked at and toned down a little bit. But at least Florida got something out of this, Leplos. I said before, I'm not gonna lie, though, I did not watch this game. I can't watch this. Florida, who cares?
Well,
Florida, I'm sorry.
I did watch it. Let me say this, Jax. They still managed to Florida Mayhemmed up that draw, Jax, because they had the opportunity to win with their good attack time, but they did not have a good series of trades. They just couldn't win out. They had the time, they had the opportunity. They just needed that first third. Nothing.
So let me just point something out to you, right? So you have Horizon Lunar Colony, which they drew, and then on Ilios they lost the first map 100-0, and the second one was a little bit more competitive at 199. But on the maps that really count, the maps that people really want to see, Payload and Hybrid, right? Eichenwald, New York Excelsior finished. They had 150 seconds left in the time bank, Leplos. That's how, they had almost 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Go to Junkertown, the fourth map. They had 235 seconds left in the time bank, and Florida had none. Yeah. That's not competitive, dude. 235 seconds?
I'm concerned Florida needs some massive changes, Jax. We were talking in our pre-podcast show.
The team owner has been hinting on Twitter for the last week that they have 3 players coming in. Who knows when we'll see them, but he's been hinting at it. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, teases are great, Jax, but we'll have to see results even when they release the names. Yeah. I'm not going to get hyped about it, Jax. I'll see hype when I see results,
Leplos. I mean, it's rough, but it's true.
That's how I treat Boston. Boston showing up well. A lot better than I thought they were based on
Boston
their picks,
improving
and they deserved.
as the season goes on. Dreamcatcher, for me, when he started, Dreamcatcher a little weak. As of right now, if we were to give out, awards, I might give Dreamcatcher as most improved. His play has done nothing but gotten better week after week. Really, really impressed with what he's doing right now. Really impressed.
Yeah, Jax. End of day 2, though, we had another important game.
Big game.
Houston needing to win in order to try and get themselves into striking distance of
the Leplos after the throw against Seoul the last week, right? Linkser are not playing, so now Linkser is back. I'm hoping Taerong, Flame, coach, general manager at Houston, they figured things out. But it's London. Like, London was my pick to win all of stage 1, right? So I'm expecting London to just bring it. I'm sorry, the team is too good.
Here, though, looks like the Spitfire were more worried about their other matches with NYXL, as their matchup here against Houston not going their way. Colmat playing a wonderful game here. Let's just go down the scoreline. Houston taking Eichenwald 2-1. Houston Outlaws again, Anubis 2-1. And then Oasis 2-0. That secures the victory, Jax. They do drop the final map, Dorado 2-1 to London Spitfire there.
What has happened to You said looking ahead to the weekend, right? Their second game of the week against New York.
Yeah, they have a game against New York on Saturday morning. Here, though, they dropped the ball against the Outlaws. Bit of a concern if you're
again,
a Spitfire
they lose
fan.
Oasis. Again, Oasis.
And Jax, we both picked Spitfire to win this game, and again, for the record, we're through 6 games, and I've had 4 wrong picks this week now already.
I will say, Kumat played out of his mind in this series. Quite possibly some of the best Diva play, and not just random self-destructs. I mean, I don't have the stat in front of me, but he did something like 30,000 damage and blocked 37,000 and just went insane. Fantastic work by Kumat on the Diva here. London, I think, I think you are correct, Lepelos. They were looking ahead to the second match. Because if you're the coaching staff, you're looking at the playoff situation and how things line up. They could afford to take a hit here, right? They were secure in, you
to
don't
get
want
through
to,
it.
but you can. However, you don't want to lose to New York later on, because if you lose to New York later on, Lepelos, that puts you out of the first place slot. That means you have to play that extra game on Saturday, and Saturday is already looking like a really long day, and they don't want to have that happen. Um,
Yeah, so
but
keep that in mind. Well, let's move on to day 3, though. We had
oh boy,
Gladiators versus Dallas Fuel starting things off.
I will say Taimu. Before this game even started, Taimu guaranteed a really strong victory for Dallas Fuel.
He said 4-0, Jax. Ended up being 3-1. Here's the score lines. 1-0 Eichenwald, 3-2 Anubis, 2-0 Oasis for the Fuel, and then Jax Dorado 3-0 on that one for the
Listen.
Gladiators.
No, if you go back and look at the picks, I picked the Dallas Fuel to win. I told you, second game of the week, the shield has not been fully repaired, and the Los Angeles, they're another team like Florida, like all these, like Shanghai, midweek signing period coming up. Sign some players. I told you, I want to see 10 players on this roster. The 7 that they have is a decent start. It's not good enough. There were some things that I saw later on in the playoffs. Some of the stuff I saw coming out of some of the tanks from the teams who made it to the finals, Lepelos, I'm looking at that. I'm saying that's not iRemix. I'm being honest here.
Yeah.
He does not get anywhere near the output that some of these other Winstons are getting. Insane play. And then I'm looking at Bishu, and Bishu, you're okay, but I'm looking at what Cool Matt did against the best team, or one of the best teams in the league in London. I'm looking at what I see in the playoffs from some of these other diva players. Bishu, up your game.
Well,
The
let's talk
tanks
about
are
the best part of the Gladiators, honestly, is their support. There's no doubt about
pretty
that.
much. I love Shaz and Biggles. I was somewhat on the fence. I mean, I knew they were good, right? Because we saw what they did in
Yeah.
Contenders EU. But
I
you said, show it to me, right? In this first stage, they have shown it to me. They can bring it. Shaz, work on the transcendence a little bit, man. You're a little too
and they've
loose
been
with it.
shut down
But
here
yeah.
and there, but they've had their ups and downs.
The best part of the Gladiators, for
but
sure, is the
definitely
support.
the best part. Surefour, I feel like
He's
needs.
got that new mouse, though. You see, maybe if he gets, I don't know. Maybe he needs his old mouse back.
You know me, I'm not going to make excuses. I'm just going to say
Yeah.
he needs another DPS that is of his level, his caliber, or higher. Because
I mean, you
expecting him
say
to be the
that,
number
but
one DPS right now,
Asher, hydration.
they have moments, Jax, but they're not
know.
at that level. Nobody
I know.
treats them as a serious threat because they're not being a continual serious threat. Okay, Jax, let's go ahead and talk match 2 here. Dynasty
Okay.
versus Shock. And Jax,
Easy for Soul. Easy win for Soul Dynasty, Lepelos.
well, I'm sad to say we got shocked a little bit about how this one was close. 4-3 Eichenwald starting out for Dynasty. A little concern there. What happened on Anubis here for this to go 1-0 for Shock's way? I don't know. Let me check my notes here just to confirm. Oh, that's right. Dynasty just unable to really do anything against Baby Bay.
Lepelos. I have to take you back to the previous game 2 days ago that they had against the Los Angeles Valiant on Temple of Anubis. They took out Fleta. I'm looking here. At least this time, there's no Guido here. Okay, there's no Guido here. There's no Fleta now. What are the guy is up there for MVP with his DPS performance. Okay, him, Bird Ring, Sabolbi, all these players are up there. Linkser as well now. I need answers. I need someone to go knock on this man's door and ask him, why are you not playing Fleta every map? Is it fatigue? Is it a wrist injury?
Yeah.
Like,
I
what
think
is
it's just
going
their composition. And Jax, I do not see the value out of their other DPSs right now. Wicked has moments, but it's not enough. Ilios 2-1
Munchkin has impressed you? Lepelos doing what? Respawning?
First off, I don't feel their tracers are performing up to the level they need to for being 2 of the top tier tracers from Korea that should have the best practice regime out of anybody, to be frank. Maybe London Spitfires should have better. I don't know.
When you look at London with Prophet, or you look at New York with Sabolbi, and you're forced to make the comparison with Seoul, because they're the other only Korean team here, right? The Tracer output is not there. And we have talked before about how important Tracer is. I know some people try to Tracer's balance, no, bull. Tracer is not balanced, he's overpowered. Fleta is fantastic. What did I say? I said if they had Fleta in previous seasons of OGN, I don't think the Lunatic High would have ever lost. I really don't.
Yeah.
But Lepelos, Eska's not here. Eska was the Tracer player. Eska was the team captain. Eska was,
Eska
the
was a hit
emotional
scan.
leader. He's not there. Eska lol, he's gone. He's playing PUBG now.
Yeah.
So now I'm left with Munchkin, Wakid, Bunny.
Listen, Wakid is their projectile player. That's clear.
Except Fleta plays Pharah.
I mean, Fleta does play Pharah and
he's
plays better.
Okay, so he's Junkrat main then, right? Is he doesn't hang with Jake?
Jake
crushed him.
It clearly didn't do anything here against the Shock either. Ilios also going the side of Shock here. 2-1. We're in a situation where Shock
match point for San Francisco.
They need one map to win, and Jax, unfortunately, they don't get it. Dorado going 3-2 in a close one, and then Lijiang Tower Dynasty closing it out. Of course, Fleta coming in and staying in for those maps, important for their win here. But Shock pushing Dynasty to 5. And Jax, this is not the first time we've been surprised about Dynasty going to 5. Like, they went to 5 against Houston without Linkser.
Lepelos, I strongly question. I can't believe I'm saying what the coaches are doing here. I'm looking at the San Francisco Shock. I'm now a little interested because come March, Lepelos, Sleepy and 150K become available for this team.
Yeah, we'll see.
And
we'll
I'm
see
really
how ready
curious
they are
to see what they can do. But Lepelos, here we are. We're at the end of stage 1. Where is IDDQD?
Yeah, he's not.
He's streaming every day. He's streaming.
He's like another Numlocked. He's like another Grim Reality. He's like
Numlocked doesn't even get to scrim level. He doesn't even scrim.
Listen,
what's he there for? Emotional support.
They might have made mistakes in their scouting, and it's just where they are as a management team. And this is one of the downsides of having streaming as part of your game is now we all get to hear about their internal stuff when he goes on and is upset about not being able to play.
Toasty Lock in chat is correct. I meant Super, not Sleepy. That was a mistake for me in front of San Francisco Shock. Yeah. Super the tank, because Nomi has his moments, but like iRemix, not enough. And Super, even if you go back to LG Evil, right? I'm a big Super fan, so we'll see.
Jax, next game, really quickly. Only good thing about this next game, Shanghai Dragons got pretty good time on Nimbani here on their attack, but Valiant OT push and then defense way too good. It ends up being 5-3, Jax. A rare difference in scoreline there, but yeah, that's what it ended up being here for Valiant to take that first map. 2-1 Anubis, 2-0 Ilios, and then shutdown on Junkertown 3-0 there for Valiant.
You want to know the interesting thing to me, Lepelos? I think Space is still underage and can't play, but the Los Angeles Valiant are one of the few teams who left the A team in against Shanghai. There's no Grim Reality here. There's no Numlocked here. Yeah. This is the core team. They switch out between Agilities and Silk Thread like they always do. And I'm just left scratching my head.
Bonnie was so close. No, but here's why, Jax. They had to take all 4 maps here if they wanted to stay in playoff contention.
You're right. There you go. The maps. Okay, see, I didn't even think about that. Good point. So they needed to
your favorite talking point, I know, Jax. The maps, right? The maps. The 4th maps matter.
Finally, it matters, dude. The numbers matter.
They spend all the time talking about it. All these other times we're like, it's another 3-0. Do we have to play the 4th map? And it does.
Well, see, here's the thing, though, Lepelos. If they're thinking like that, I guess they're in a position to think like that because it's the end of the season. But I take you back to week 3, Philadelphia versus Shanghai that went 3-2, and Philadelphia played a B team because they could. They felt like they could still win with that B team, Lepelos. What does this say about the coaching here? If the numbers matter that much, and here we come down to the end of the stage, and these numbers actually matter quite a bit, what are these coaches doing in these other games? Why are you bringing out subpar talent then?
So, in my view, when you're coaching, you're trying to balance 2 things, right? You're trying to develop potential into actual performance in the future.
Okay.
Right, and you're trying in the immediate term to get results, right? So Philly in midweek was looking at it, seeing it as a opportunity to get stage experience and grow their membership and their time out there. That's what I would probably be doing, particularly in stage 1 when you're a middle level team right now, as Valiant or Fusion are. I
Mm-hmm.
think that has longer term implications to your players and to your team outlook as well. And maybe Valiant, I don't think did the wrong thing here. Don't get me wrong. I think here you have to do this because you're in a situation
Yeah.
where the maths matter. It would be stupid for you to come into the second to last day and say like, hey, if we get 4-0, we still have playoff contention. No, we're gonna run a you know a game here to build
Right.
our
Well, I mean, I'm just
that's a
wondering,
bad
because
situation. But
we
like
went
two
through the
weeks
whole
ago,
stage
it's fine.
levels. We didn't see Numlock to Grim like
Yeah, I think there's
20.
other issues
I
going
just
on with their team.
when I saw the post from the video from Numlock where he says, "I don't even scrim," I'm like, what the hell?
I'm not
Well,
surprised. Like, listen, it depends on how your team's management is run. But if you're not up to the level that they need you to be at, I'm not surprised you're not getting time for scrims
I
because
think one of the bigger problem with him is the coordination that's required between tanks and DPS is quite high right now. And they already have a language issue with just because it's a natural language issue because Fate is Korean, right? So English isn't his first language, and having to switch, if you're practicing and you're suddenly going from having to, word things differently for Fate to having to, it just I kind of understand why Numlock maybe doesn't get any
yeah,
play. Grim,
you don't
I
see it.
don't get why Grim. Like, well,
Maybe
he's
he's
my
just not
boy, dude.
playing that well right now. Jax, let's go ahead and talk about the final day of action though. This one quite a long day.
Long
It ends
day.
up being five
Long day.
games on this one day. Starting off with New York Excelsior taking on London
What a
Spitfire to
game.
start this off. How do you feel about this one, Jax?
What a game, Uploads. I mean,
Yes, it was a great game. It went all five. Let's say that right off the start here. Really good series. This is a potential final matchup again. Um, and Jax, really close one. Like you can't go five without it being close here.
no.
Both teams showing strengths and showing weaknesses. And let's just go through the scoreline though, because we're not going to
Yeah.
cover it in full. 3-2 Eichenwald in a close one. 2-1 Anubis. Maybe not as close on that one, Jax, as the scoreline suggests. 2-0 on Ilios for New York Excelsior. 3-2 Dorado. What have we said about control points, Jax? Or sorry,
London, it's very. I mean, this wasn't even Oasis levels. This was Ilios, and looking at the scoreline, it was 100-0 and then 100-99 on Ilios. It's
and then you
it's
come
bad
to
enough that you're losing 2-0, but to also get zeroed out in one of the stages.
yeah. So you come to map 5, Lijiang Tower, and it's another 2-0. You're concerned, or I'm concerned right now for Spitfiring and control point maps, Jax. It's a huge issue for them.
Losing this game means that they cannot finish first in the league level.
Yeah,
So the bigger thing is, this means you have to play another game because scheduling has the scheduling makes it so the last stage games are here and the playoffs are a few hours later. Really, really long day for London if they want to win the title here.
New York
I will
Excelsior
say
doing what
London
they
looked
had to
a
do
lot
to
better
shorten it.
in this game than they did against Houston, which goes back to us you saying that they prepared more for this game than they did against the Houston Outlaws. Really, really rough schedule for them, which we talked about. I know we talked about it at the end of the podcast, but we went on even more in the post show on twitch.tv/Lepos like we do every week. But good series here. I mean, if this is a potential final here, could be a really good finals.
Yeah,
Could be really good.
went into another really great series, Jax. Very interesting playoff potential coming out of the Houston-Boston. Houston just has to win to get through. Boston needs to win by 2. If they win by 1, then it would actually be Valiant going through.
Oh boy.
So very interesting things to happen. And Jax, speaking of interesting things, first map going the side of Houston, Boston already put into the hot seat. Striker, let's be honest, looking a little nervous. Maybe Dreamcasper a little bit too here on Eichenwald. They can't close out.
One of the things that I'm liking about this is people always talk about having LAN experience, right? So now they have LAN experience. Now, Lepelos, you're getting that playoff pressure on your shoulders now, right? You see that $100,000 at the winners. That's, I don't know what their contracts are like, how the money is split up, but they probably get a little bit of that, something from it.
If you're Mayhem, it goes to buying new support stuff. It's not happening. So
Public
jokes
relations
aside.
help for that team. But you can't help but wonder how the situation is hitting the players.
I think off the start here, a little bit of nerves hitting Boston, but Jax, they bring it right back. Temple of Anubis 2-1, Ilios 2-0. Boston put themselves in a potential on Dorado to win it out here.
Let me say, Leplos, Temple of Anubis was a stomp. Boston had 349 seconds left on the clock. Houston had none. Ilios 100, Boston 134 Boston. I mean, an absolute beatdown. So whatever, I have no idea. Whatever Huck is doing, during the break, he's like, guys, you got to bring it.
Well, on the flip side, Outlaws had that moment on Anubis where they C9 to give up that point, Jax.
That was...
Listen, you talk about mentality, Outlaws mentality after that. I'm not surprised that they came off the break.
I don't get how team... we saw was it Mumu who left, or was it a different game? The tank leapt off, and I'm like,
I think Gesture.
The tank is that was a different series. You're right. Yeah. How do you leave? Like, they only needed one tick Leplos. You can't leave. Like,
here. Well, I mean, in this situation, they got an off pick. They collapsed to the res, and in doing so, they left. The other part of this issue, though, is their defense was clearly not a 1/3 defense. It was their regular defense to be able to react. And there's a difference that you have to play. You have to play the objective. They were protecting around the point. They didn't have point presence.
I don't think they can. But do you think coaches should be able to say a few words to the players in between rounds, like in between first and of the same map, right? So Temple of Anubis, you go through your attack, then you go on defense, right? Should the coaches be able to talk to the players?
I mean, personally, absolutely. I want to see more like coaching and management inside, not just players in the moment in the game. Like I want to see that like level of thought of like, hey guys, like this happened. You have that setup time. You have 45 seconds.
Standing behind them, looking at the screens, right?
Yeah.
We see that in other games. I haven't seen that here.
Here you have 45 seconds, I think, between a lot of the rounds, right? Maybe more between first and second attack, in first flip. But
perhaps the coaches don't want to get into that headspace like the players are.
But I would like to have that as an option, though, right? Like that would be a great option because it would allow them to call out certain plays or react to what they saw from their perspective as things, and that brings out more interesting play, and it might calm players, and it would have a more of a storyline, right? Honestly, it can really do a lot. It's not a big deal right now, but I'm for it personally because I think coaching and having that additional input would help, but obviously how do you monitor that? I mean, you can monitor it, but whatever. Jax, let's go ahead though. Let's move discussion along here to the fourth map, Dorado, coming out here, and Uprising starting out with a pretty good defense. Let's be honest, 3-2-1 defense on A point, doing well, but they sort of die late there, and from there, Outlaws get into third, and then I have to mention it, Jax. They break out the pirate ship strategy here on Dorado. Questionable. They do fight through to get A point secured, but Outlaws, huge issues for them in B. Huge issues for Outlaws in B. They have plenty of time for Uprising in the third to capture out, but Outlaws shutting them down nice and early here, allowing them to hold on. Banny coming through with some pretty key reses in this map to force that game 5. Jax, that is demoralizing a little bit. If you're Uprising, you needed that win there to go through. Now they're just playing spoiler here on Lijiang Control Center.
Do you think that affects them, or
absolutely.
Do they still give it their all, or is it like, well, we got no chance now? So
listen, you're gonna have a moment of a letdown, right? Like emotionally, there's time between the maps, yes, and part of being professional and a champion is to recover from moments, even moments where you're no longer going to be doing anything but playing the game, right? Like how can you get back into that headspace and playing at a high level? I feel like coming out here on Lijiang Tower, they had that moment of breath, and that probably, I believe, cost them, if I remember correctly, the the control center off the start of the fight. But Uprising do come back from that a little bit, but Striker just not looking himself there on that first map.
No.
Outlaws finishing that first map. I'm sort of concerned from them. Uprising, though, Garden phase, that was their phase to win. They did well there, but the same issues that happened on Control Center still plagued them on Night Market to close it out here, as Outlaws able to win out with a good return with a bunch of ultimates to secure their place into the playoffs with this win over Boston. Jax, let's go ahead and talk about the third game really briefly. It was a nothing game. Philadelphia Fusion taking on, Florida at Philadelphia, if you want to call it at. But either way, it was a game that was just being played for future score lines. Didn't have an impact on Stage 1 playoffs yet.
The ultimate playoffs at the end of Stage 5, so months away. All these games do matter for that. But in the context of the here and now in Stage 1, who cares?
Yeah, for Mayhem, you're trying to get another win here, and for Fusion, they're not pulling their members, Jax. They're running a pretty strong team here against Mayhem, and they needed it. 3-2 Nimbani for Philadelphia, but then 2-1 on Horizon Lunar Colony, 2-0 on Oasis for Florida Mayhem. Jax, Philly in trouble. I was surprised by this result going into the fourth map of Junkertown. Very good performance coming out of Logix, better than he had been performing up to this point. Maybe Fusion not performing the level that you expect out of them, but we've talked about this. Jax played to the level of their opponent. Looks like that is what was happening here.
Yeah. This something's not right in Philadelphia, Leplos. I just want to give you some numbers right quick. 3-1, that's London beating Florida. 4-0, that's Boston beating Florida in the first week. In the second week, Seoul 4, Florida 0. And Florida 4, Shanghai 0. So, okay, putting that one aside. Third week, we have Houston 4, Florida 0. Los Angeles Valiant 3, Florida 1. You go to week 4, Gladiators 3, Florida Mayhem 1. San Francisco Shock 4, Florida Mayhem 0. You go to week 5, New York 3, Florida 0, and then final week, Philadelphia 3, Florida 2. Why are all these teams able to beat up on Florida, except for Shanghai? But I'm putting that aside. And Philadelphia struggles so much. Like, why? Philadelphia? It's a mental thing, right? Like, we talked before about them playing to the level of their opponent, Leplos, and these scores across the entire first stage show that. And I just, what are they doing? Like, if you look at the talent that they have there, Braggy, solid tank. His Winston is not as good as other tier 1 tanks. Maybe he's a tier 2 Overwatch League Winston player. But Poco is good. Hotba, I'm not so sold on. Look at the DPS, Carpe and Shadowburn, probably the best DPS dive duo, as some people have said. The support play, Boombox, Neptuno, great. Dayfly, please keep him on the bench.
Boombox hasn't been doing as well as he had shown potential to have in the past.
When it comes to the fragging Zins that we expected coming in, Boombox, I think, has performed the worst out of all of them.
Yeah, he's
Uncle
underperformed.
is performing right. Bedosin, J. Jonak, all these
great.
others.
Shaz has been
Shaz,
better
Ryu
than
Hong,
I expected.
all of the Zins are doing work. Boombox he's kind of quiet, but Neptuno's picking it up by average getting the most kills on Mercy throughout the entire.
Maybe that's the problem. Jackson, maybe there's something else that bothered me about this matchup, particularly that I noticed in my short notes on this matchup. It was Mayhem winning some of the scrappy fights that were happening. And Jax, that is what I expect Fusion to be doing.
With Carpe and Shadowburn, that's the way it should be.
Exactly.
Like Genji, Tracer, they're made to win those kind of fights.
And
it's
Jax,
just
this is a turn, though. This is a turn because we've talked about teams that win scrappy fights and have done really well. They can end up top of the leagues. They can win tournaments. But for me, I always see a turn in these teams. And Jax, Philly has been doing that. They've been a team that won scrappy fights, but they don't have anything to fall back on. And now when they're starting to be pressured in for whatever reason, I'm not gonna go into why the reasons are here, but once things start going against them, they start losing to even teams like Florida Mayhem, dropping 2 maps here. Jax, let's close this out though. Junkertown 2-1. Lijiang Tower, another close one, but Fusion do win out 3-2 on the map scoreline and 2-1 on Lijiang Tower in order to close the series and stage 1 regular season done. But you can't feel good about this win if you're Philly, and if you're
No.
Florida, you're feeling, hey, listen, I know things have been sort of dicey recently. We had our great walkout today, and 2 maps off of Fusion when people were probably expecting another 4-0.
I 4-0, 3-1 maybe. Philadelphia, it wasn't until I just now looked at the scores, like specifically how other teams performed against Florida, and it's just why it's like that for Philly all the time. Like, how do you beat the New York Excelsior? Lepelos, New York just beat London. How do you beat the New York Excelsior if you're Philadelphia, and then you get pushed to 5 against Shanghai and Florida?
Yeah, and Jax, let's put it this way though:
What?
Fusion rank right now, other than map score, they have the same win to loss ratio as Boston Uprising at 6-4. Jax, they're straddling that middle of the league right now with that kind of a scoreline. But this performance, it doesn't feel like it's coming out of them. I mean, obviously, you look below them, you're not surprised to see Gladiators at 4-6 and then Shock at 3-7. But you look at Fuel, and we all are surprised with where they are right now at 3-7. And you look at where Fusion are sitting with their sort of up and down play. You're looking at 2 teams that are probably going to be moving in different directions in stage 2, in my opinion.
I mean, you're right. I'm looking at the final regular season stage 1 standings, and Boston and Philadelphia both at 6-4. The thing that stands out to me, though, those would be the map line of 27-0-17 for Boston and 21-24 for Philadelphia. So Boston, they did a little cleaner. But if you're looking ahead to stage 2, at who do you think to go up? Obviously Boston. Boston is improving by quite a bit. In Philadelphia,
but
I worry.
It's interesting you say go up, but Boston, like, look who's above them: Soul Dynasty, Valiant, Spitfires,
Yeah.
Outlaws, Excelsior. Who are they going to knock out of those slots? I'm looking at Dynasty right now.
I'm looking at Soul Dynasty. The Soul, if they continue to mess around with this Guido nonsense, it's like the old lunatic high, right? What is it I used to say? If they play Lee Tae-jun in these games, they will lose.
Jax, I'm going to cut us.
It's the exact same thing.
Our discussion.
For whatever reason, these coaches like, oh, Guido, my man, you're gonna play. But coach, we want to win. No, we don't. We want to run you. You're gonna. What do you do, Guido? For what?
Jax, okay. Conversation here.
What?
We're ending this one because this is actually could be a stage 2 discussion, which we're going to save for next week, which will be the lead into
Yo and Lee Tae-jun, what is he doing over there, man?
Well, that will be our lead into stage 2, but we're going to cut it short there because we still have playoffs to discuss here for stage 1, Jax. We know who they are. It's going to be starting off with London and Houston in the semifinals. Jax, pretty good semifinals. Houston, you got to feel a little bit up. You won against London earlier in the week. You don't have to practice new strats, or you don't have to think about a lot maybe off the start here. And
I mean, Level, they won in a rather convincing fashion here. It was 2-1, 2-1, 2-0, and then they lost the last map 2-1.
And I believe the last map was Dorado that they lost,
yeah.
Jackson. And here we're starting out on Dorado, and it goes the other way around. Spitfire barely getting through A point because Jake on Junkrat shuts them down there. And then Outlaws able to capture A point easily and make it through second to take the very first win just like that. And they won on the map they lost on. Jax, you're feeling good if you're Outlaws here.
Listen, Jake. Hey, one thing about Jake. Twitch chat jokes about Jake being a Junkrat main. I mention it all the time. He doesn't have to be anything other than Junkrat main levels. If with the way Junkrat is right now, I mean, yes, he'll get a slight nerf with the concussion mine come stage 2. But the spam is still there, and these teams are failing hard to meet the Junkrat chat.
Well, Jax, speaking of failing, outrageous. Though, you're right there. But Elios has Junkrat not really in play here, and it sort of shows the play coming out of Outlaw suddenly dropped in levels. Let's be honest. Lighthouse sort of a back and forth round, but Birdering and Prophet now warmed up from this afternoon a little bit. Start getting to the back line, and same story is basically true on as well as the Spitfire winning both rounds here, taking the map 2-0 in order to to tie up the series. I also want to mention here second map, the well map, going 100-0 on that map scoreline. Very concerning if you're Outlaws to go from winning a map you lost to all of a sudden being shut out on Elios.
And it's also concerning because King of the Hill Control, not the Spitfire is we talk about it, it's not their best game mode. So for them to lose, like the thing that worried me about them losing Dorado Lepelos is that's payload. For them to lose payload and then go into Control next, King of the Hill, I was really worried about my pick because I picked him to win it all here, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. And then they're like, Jax, we got you, and I'm okay. Prophet and Birdering, they're like, we're waking up now. We are woke. We are ready to go. And from there, Lepelos, well,
it gets worse.
Go
Anubis.
to Temple of Anubis.
I mean, Outlaws did they did a good job on defense.
Yeah.
They had a decent A hold, not great, but pretty good.
Overall,
Jake coming through on the Junkrat there. But
see, there you go.
Yeah.
Let me answer. If you take Jake out of the if you replace Jake with Wikid Lepelos, right? Does Houston do as well? No. What do they do when Jake's not popping off, when Linkser is having a little trouble?
Well, here's the other answer. What do you do against a Reaper Junkrat on the attacking team if you're Outlaws? All of a sudden, your Junkrat is now countered by a Junkrat. The classic, you're running a Junkrat, we'll run a Junkrat kind of strategy. Here, it actually pays off. They're able to cap through with minute 03 or something like that in the time bank for the Spitfire. But real problem, Outlaws attack couldn't deal anything against Prophet's Junkrat here on that first point. Of course, Fury helping with getting Banny in another hold, then Birdering getting the kill on Linkser in another hold. Like, Outlaws looking very uncoordinated on their attack here, losing out Anubis 2-0, and all of a sudden they're put on map point going into
anytime you don't take the first point of assault Lepelos of 2 CP, that's on the attackers. That's just poor coordination. That's you having no real plan. And the interesting thing you mentioned is them not dealing with Prophet's Junkrat. It doesn't make it. It's. I think I've said it before. How do you not have a plan or a counter to something you yourself do and do very well?
Yeah.
If you are facing yourself and you're the Houston Outlaws, how do you deal with Jake? You don't know? Jake doesn't know.
Yeah, it's frustrating to watch. And Jax, it's sort of a similar story on Eichenwald. I do want to mention a couple things though. Outlaw defense starting off well on Eichenwald, but Birdwing getting a spawn camp kill onto Jake sets London Spitfire up for a late take on A point. That's important. They don't get to B point because good play out of Outlaws secure them on the bridge, secure the hold there. But Outlaws attack again. Jax having trouble with a Junkrat.
To hold on bridge before second.
Yeah, doable distance. Doable distance. They should win most of the time against most teams here. Jax could not deal with the Junkrat spam coming out of the Spitfire here.
Fucking Junkrat.
Even when they catch Bedosin and push onto point, it's Riptire and then Birdring coming through with kills onto Raucous. To secure defense with 2 ticks late. They managed to come back and resecure. From there, Outlaws trying to force fights, unable to get any more time on that point. They're secured, or they're held on A point. Another 2-0 here on Eichenwald. Or sorry, it's a 1-0 here on Eichenwald for the side of Spitfire. And
is Junkrat too good, Lepelos? Is that the problem? That even though Houston run their own top-tier Junkrat, right? They don't have a counter for Junkrat.
They don't have a
counter. The counter doesn't exist. Is the spam rat too strong?
You're wrong. The counter does exist. It's called a good tracer. Right?
I mean,
that's what happened to Jake.
Jake kind of plays tracer.
Kind of plays tracer. He's up and down in tracer. Not enough. Not feeling it in the moment. Outlaws, you could see, I think it was Linkser there that had a moment where it hit him hard emotionally. It's a hard loss here, Jax. You won against them earlier in the week in a close, fairly close.
I think the mentality of the London Spitfire is why they won. Like, I'm sorry, we said it 3 times now. They were looking ahead to the New York Excelsior. They were looking ahead to the playoffs. Now they're in the playoffs, right? They just lost to the New York Excelsior. They have something to prove, Lepelos. They want to continue on. They want to win. and they weren't
Outlaws,
messing. I mean, I really think Dorado was a wake up for them. For them to get beat like that on Dorado,
yeah.
which should have been their map like that, and then for them to play as well as they did on Ilios, they don't play well on King Hill. That's a fact. And here they are playing very well. So Houston, I think it kind of brings me back to what we were saying at the beginning of the season when we were looking at the top three teams being London, Seoul, and New York in whatever order you want to put them in, and we're looking at Houston on the outside looking in because we're saying where is it going to come from, right? And here it is, Leplos. We're in the playoffs here, right? There's nothing else. There's nothing else. What are you saving it for, right? This is the end of this current meta because it's a patch. When they needed it, where was it going to come from? They didn't have it, Leplos.
Yeah.
Where's their profit? Where's
And
their bird ring?
It's surprising.
Who's going to step
Jax,
up?
I think any other week you'd be happy to trade 3-1 games with Spitfire, but when it comes down to the playoffs, you wanna continue. Outlaw is great to get here.
It's
won.
A problem. I think it's a problem. I think going forward, Leplos. They don't.
They have.
I don't
some
see how they
weaknesses,
beat. I mean,
yes.
unless the meta just magically falls into their lap. And against London, I don't see how because London is rocking a serious roster.
Probably overall my favorite roster depth out of any team, right? Like I cannot see another team that has the depth of roster that Spitfire does.
I mean, no one else has 12 players.
Well,
but
I think there's another team that does.
These are 12 high level players.
Yeah,
it's just
that's what I mean.
I look at Houston and it's seriously the same. I guess I'm kind of jumping ahead to next week when we do our preview here. Where are they going to find that magic, Leplos?
Well, they can start.
They didn't have
now.
Linkers. They didn't have Linkser last week. They have Linkser this week. Linkser didn't have it. Jake didn't have it. He got out Jaked.
He did. Jax, though, let's go ahead and talk about the grand final. Some rematch of what happened earlier in the day between the Spitfire and New York Excelsior. I do want to point out, interestingly, Jax, that there's a a map difference in selected maps. The difference between a regular season going to Lijiang on 5 and the map outline of the finals. There's only one control point.
I like that
map of the
I like
grand
that
finals. A lot. There's 2 payload if it goes to 5 games.
For me, this is how it should be. People who listen, they know we're not the biggest fan of King of the Hill. We like 2CP even less. I want to see more payload. Who was it? I was watching Hardblue, right? Hardblue says when Horizon Lunar Colony comes on, it's a snore fest. He doesn't watch it because it's 2CP. I won't take it that far, but for me, the bread and butter of the game is the payload, Lepelos. So for this to be in the finals, this is what I want to see, especially with these two teams. The thing that I'm worried about, because I picked London to win, Lepelos, is the one control map that is in this series is Oasis. So
let's go ahead and just get into the series then. We start on it on Junkertown, Jax. Oasis is second maps, but we start out on Junkertown. Another not the greatest map for Spitfire, let's be honest. Right. And here, Spitfire do manage to get through only in OT, Jax. They do.
I will say
get through.
The New York Excelsior, they figured things out. People talk about like the Super Bowl comes to mind because it was rather recent. Those halftime adjustments that you make, where the first half of a game is really bad. So you go in, you talk it over with your coaches, with your players, and you make those adjustments, and you come out for the second half, and you turn the game around. The beginning of the defense for the New York Excelsior was not very good, Lepelos. Spitfire had 4 minutes and 48 seconds to push the second point. They had 3 minutes and 23 seconds to push the last point. So the first two phases, no real defense. Nothing was really working. They even had Big Boss Pine in. And I'm not used to seeing Big Boss Pine struggle on the Widow, but he was struggling. He did have one key moment, Lepos, where he had ridiculous 4K. 1 body shot and 3 headshot flicks that are insane, and someone needs to check him because that's not right. But it wasn't enough, right? Because I said they still had 3 minutes and 23 seconds. They figured it out in the final third. Pine got off the Widow. He went to the McCree. There was nothing fancy about it for either side. It was just a brawl, and London was fortunate enough to cap it out in overtime. But New York,
they used their ults pretty well to force NYXL off at the end. But yeah, you still want time on the clock. Yes. It's quite usual for teams to cap out with time. Here, Spitfire, at least they capped out, Jax, and they needed it, Jax, because NYXL on the attack trades off the start, and that obviously favors their attacking team on Junkertown. They managed for a pretty quick A attack, and Spitfire, looking indecisive, engaged late on that A point
Yeah.
capture, letting NYXL get free movement into second, basically all of second for free, Jax.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Lepelos. I'm stunned. We're seeing Jay Jonak on the Roadhog here. It reminds me a lot of Ryu Jae Hong and So Dynasty. He likes to pull out the Roadhog on sorry, I'm looking. Why are my notes wrong? Sorry.
Well, no,
Yeah.
you're right because like
Yeah.
in the third, Jonak on that Roadhog popped
Yeah.
off. Listen, finishing kills hugely important. Profit here, rare time he didn't finish a kill. Got a pulse bomb on the Roadhog of Jay Jonak. Did not finish him off. That helps NYXL turn that fight around. Meko landing a 2-kill self-destruct as NYXL push it through 303 on the board.
Lepelos.
Incredible play coming out from
First
Jay
phase,
there on
they
Roadhog.
had 5 minutes on the clock. Second phase, they had 5 minutes on the clock. There's no. You talked about them just running through second phase because of the late engagement by the London Spitfire. I got something else for you here, and I did not go back to look at it. I know for a fact from throughout all of second and up until the very end of the final fight of the third phase, Nuss did not use Valkyrie. He had Valkyrie Lepos. He did not use it. You know why? Because he was practicing his Dayfly impression, and he was always on respawn. I'm almost certain, I'm 99% certain, Lepos, he went through the entire defensive stage here, without ever getting a revive with Valkyrie. Because the first stage was over so fast, I don't think he even had it built up. And then after that, in second and third, I just said he got no revives, Lepelos.
Yeah.
This is Mercy meta. He has Valkyrie. He doesn't use it for 2 full stages.
Yeah, you're going to lose.
And when he does use it in the final, he uses it to initiate Lepelos because you know why? He had been unable to stay alive long enough to even press the button.
That's
so before he's in any danger, he's like, I'm going to Valkyrie. I'm going to go Pixie mode. I'm going to fly out here. And you know what happened, Lepelos? He died as soon as he used it without getting any value.
Yeah, it's a harsh thing. NYXL, I think, doing a pretty good job. Listen, a lot of teams do try and get the Mercy down. NYXL shutting it down really hard. Speaking of shutting it down, they shut down the Spitfire attack with their 3-2-1 defense again. Pine picking out on Profits, trades going down. They hold early off in that phase, make it pretty easy
Lepelos,
to take. Jax,
I just have to say, I'm going to go back to Mercy. It's Mercy meta. You know what I'm going back to? Nuss, dead, 86%. In 1 minute, he did not get the Valkyrie. I'm sorry. You will not win if your Mercy doesn't revive.
Yeah.
You don't win.
NYXL going on their second attack for that short distance. Jax, we talked about this a little bit in discussion. 402 coming out of the Spitfire for a hidden strategy trick play. They have to hold for what, 3 minutes or 4 minutes here? We can talk about this if you want right now, but no. They tried this trick play to I guess get a free hold. That, you know, it works. I guess.
Here's the deal. Lepelos, if they were attacking, you can run a 402. If you're defending for 4 minutes and 3 seconds, you cannot run a 402 when the enemy has to go 54.76 meters to beat you. There are too many things that counters 4 big, slow, lumbering tanks. Yeah. One of them being Farah, who just flew around in the sky, bombing you with rockets because you have nothing to deal with her.
I mean, you're right. This is what I would say, which is I think Spitfire was already. I'm not saying resigning, but they wanted to show that they're willing to throw trick plays at NYXL for future match because they already resigned this one to a loss. Like I don't. They fell apart on their A point defense already, holding the short distance, not even all of A, just the short distance on A for 4 minutes was outside of what was going to happen anyways. So they wanted to throw a curveball now to play the mental games with NYXL and their coaching staff for later on.
I think you're giving them a little too much credit there, Lopez.
I could be wrong on that one, but like you're not. They knew they weren't going to hold, so they were doing something that
was terrible. I'm sorry. This 402. When I saw it, I mean, Monty tried to feed us some kind of BS about, you know, he commends them for trying this. This was terrible. You're not going to hold 4 minutes with 402. I'm sorry. There are too many things out there that counter you.
Jax,
And
I
you,
think, and
what do you do?
I agree with you. But listen,
Okay.
I don't care what composition you are. You're asking for a hail mary to hold at this point in time. And if you can get your opponents off guard in future games based off of unique plays now
So
in a situation where
you're
you're,
looking ahead. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I don't
like
think so,
you're
Leplos.
trying,
I think they were out of their minds and they had, well, whatever.
yeah, you, yeah. I mean, obviously, maybe it's a trick play. Like, do you feel like you'd take this risk if you only had to hold one time, Jax?
I mean, if it was a minute, then okay, I could potentially run a 402. With 4 minutes, you're asking for failure levels.
But
Asking for
we
failure.
already know, like, that distance is pretty much
I mean,
failure.
levels. See, you're saying that, right? But then I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, well, what's the second map?
Yeah, but it's
And
not about the second map, Jax. It's about the idea that you have more tricks up your back pocket or up your sleeve for future maps. And YXL,
I don't
think
know.
about that
I don't
a
know.
little bit.
I
Whether
I I I, I think they really want to win. I think for whatever reason they felt that this was going to give them the best chance of winning. They were
I
wrong. And the reason why I was concerned, Leplos, is because you go from Junkertown, the map that you kind of needed to win, to going to Oasis, a map I think they may have never won in stage one, and they may have won it once. I'd have to check, but
yeah.
this is everyone knows this is not their map.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there, Jax. It would also be nice if we had Malik getting that insider information from the coaches here
I
about.
know, I'm serious, right? Like, there's always a few minutes in between. Was it 2 to 3 minutes between stages? Zoe or Malik, you go back, you're like, hey, Coach Bishop, can I get 20 seconds of your time? What happened? Like, the one thing I would ask, literally, why the 4 tanks here?
Yes,
That's it.
like
Just one
that's the
question.
perfect soundbite we needed there. Unfortunately, we didn't. We got no information.
Okay.
Here at Oasis, we don't need a lot of information to know how this one was going to end up.
Should
Jax,
say Lepolos Sabobi coming in for Big Boss Pine. Pine normally plays on King of the Hill. He's out now. Sabobi, not really a downgrade because he's Sabobi. For the other side, we had Fury in for who y'all on that flex tank or off tank. So, we're starting to see some substitutions come in. Game map 2 here, Oasis. London, you gonna need some help. How did it go?
I mean, they started off pretty well. They found Tracer and McCree value off the start. Jester Roadhog also going off, uh, going into OT, though, allows NYXL to get the flip on Spitfire.
Yeah.
NYXL holding on from there. Let's just say that they're using their alts properly. Secures a win. First map on Gardens Down, City Center, Jax. Another
Well,
close
I just
one.
want to say, Lep, it's kind of concerning here because they got it. So London got it to 99% before they lost it. That means you need one fight. That means you take 6 ultimates, no matter how long it takes to get them, and you smash your opponent over the head. The very next fight after they lost the point, London Spitfire had 6 ultimates, Lepolos. 6 ultimates. They didn't. I mean, yes, New York had 5, but that's, you have to. I mean, if you go into a fight with 6 ultimates and you don't win, how do you ever plan on winning? And this is execution here, and this is execution on Oasis and Coach Bishop. The thing that's mind-boggling to me, this has been your worst map. Everyone knows it, and you still don't have a plan.
Yeah.
What did you prepare for here?
And
But you're
unfortunately,
taking it
not
to the
enough
city center
time.
levels.
Not enough time to figure that out for City Center, Jax.
Yeah.
Pretty much a similar story here. Another close one between 100 to 99, but a huge return here by Sabalbi on that Tracer. That's why you bring him in. 2 kills on Bedosin alone in one fight, and more from that, including Mano setting up that fight by knocking off Bird Ring so he can't be red with a Primal Rage.
That was huge.
Another round here by NYXL.
Monty made a really good point here, comparing the Mercy play between Arc and Nuss. Arc very methodical and patient with his Valkyrie, and when he decides to go in for revives and how he positions himself. Nuss, to me, so far, pretty loose. He's getting picked a lot, and he uses the Valk, and they still lose fights. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah,
But
you can't
the
have
other
that
issue,
happen.
Sabobi, best tracer, he popped off. He's like, this is the cleanup phase. So the two differences here is London got it to 99 and were unable to clean it up. Fury in that cleanup phase for them in overtime, he needed to get so much more done on Diva. He just couldn't do it. Here, Sabolbi in overtime, after he got the setup because the soldier had been knocked off, he was all over the place. Leplos, kill, 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 tracer, 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 and then he had Arc keeping everybody alive with the Valkyrie. This is fantastic play here from New York, and the value that they get off their ultimates compared to London. And the problem that I have though is this is what people have always said about London on this map, right? They're too free with their ultimates. They're too
Yeah.
loose. And it's like it's a stage. This is week 5. Like this is the championship.
They still haven't
You have the
tightened up
same
that
problems.
play. It's very, very concerning, Jax.
All
Let's
right.
go ahead and talk about map 3 though. It's Horizon Lunar Colony.
It's map point, Leplos.
And they turn it right around. Let's be honest. They run a 2-3-1 Sombra attack here. Bedosin getting picked early does force them back, but EMP engage barely works out for them, but it does work out for them, thanks to getting Arc early in that fight before reses by any decent time for NYXL. Birdwing, though, Birdwing on B point, huge issues for NYXL. They're not really dealing with him very well. We've talked about free casting. Now you have Birdwing warming up and free casting up at the top of that B point. NYXL falling apart here. Let's be honest. Spitfire building up Valkyrie quick again. Maybe it's paying off here where it didn't pay off on Oasis. 4:25 on the clock, Jax.
This was an amazing, not even an amazing attack. The first point, that was an EMP that wasn't the best executed EMP, but it turned. See, when the EMP goes off and people lose abilities, naturally you panic. I'm not saying these pros panic. I'm just saying everybody panics. So I guess I am saying that. It was a scrappy fight that London was able to turn in their favor, whereas on Oasis they were not turning them into their favor. Here, Lepelos, Nuss coming in, very aggressive mercy play. Valkyrie and reviving in a hot spot where I think Doa was like, I don't know about that, but it worked out. In the previous map on Oasis, this did not work out. So it's a bit of, you high risk, high reward mercy play out of Nuss. And it worked. And then it snowballed. It wasn't a fast moving snowball. This was one slow fight that, you expect these longer fights to go in the favor of the defense, but as you said, Birdering was left to do Birdering like things, and they had an incredible time bank here. So in New York, Lepos, they have to go on the attack. They have to try to match this. It's match point, right? They feel we can close it out here on Horizon. They just have to execute their attack. How well did they execute that attack, Lepos?
Oh, that first attack on A point by NYXL was not great. Let's be honest. Their dive getting shut down pretty hard by Spitfire on that A point. Finally switching comps to they had to build up ultimates in order to take that A point, so it took them a little bit to get through, but they got through. And Jax, you speak about sustain on B point attacks, and that last one by Spitfire being really well done. I think it was NYXL's that was really impressive here on B point in terms of the most sustain and presence and poise in order to cap out B point here with 237. They lost people, they killed people, they got Spitfire stalling out very well. Really good stall.
This is Lepelos. Let's be real. This is 2CP. When I go back and look at the VOD and I look in the Twitch chat, 2CP lol. That's what this is. Lepelos, this is ridiculous. New York started this out with 3 picks, Lepelos. They killed half the enemy team, and then the stall came out for 2 minutes.
There you go. Yes.
And Lepelos, for the record, they were fortunate. When Sabobi went down to Prophet's, when he deflected the flashbang, and Sabobi went down, and like Monty, I was like, they're in trouble. And you know what happened after that? Immediately after Sabobi went down on the McCree, Prophet popped Dragon Blade. He got 1 kill, and you know what happened? Jay Jonak murdered him with a right click on Zen, which they did not catch. He had Dragon Blade and was going to kill the rest of the team if Jay Jonak doesn't kill him with the right click.
I mean, plays like that make him break championships.
Huge play to kill Prophet right there, because you can see he's feeling it. He's like, the momentum was going to swing with Sabobi had such a presence on that McCree, right? He was doing so much work, and then he goes down, and Prophet has the blade, and he doesn't have a McCree to hit him in the head. He's like, I don't need McCree. I've got Zen. I've got right click. It's broken. With Discord, you die. We take the map, although at a slower time than you, so we have to go attack again.
Yeah, I mean, great play coming out of NYXL, but their second attack, I'm worried about them because of how bad their A attack was the first time. And Jax, 2 times in a row, Janet's diving in, dies before the dive lands, basically. And immediately your time is almost up if you're NYXL. Third fight, also a loss. Do find some late support kills. Don't make the most use of it but it does give you some positioning advantage to get some time on point. Only getting
This
69.3% though, Jack. So that's it before
this
the return of Spitfire.
this was luck, and okay, maybe not luck. Nuss, Nuss. So right
Nuss
before the
dying
final fight
early.
start, Nuss dies. He
Yeah.
has Valkyrie. The timing, like Doa points out, they were fortunate because Arc. See, when your opposing Mercy goes down, you think it's free. Like it is, you're now the only Mercy with Valkyrie. You can get so much done with the sustain, with the revive. Arc blows the Valkyrie Leplos. He's sustaining the fight because it's 2 CP. Not really. This isn't a true 2 CP moment, but the fight is extended.
CP.
They buy time. You know what the time is used for? Nuss gets back. He has Valkyrie. He revives Birdring. He revives Gesture, who had just gone down. Prophet, at that exact moment, goes spam rat mode, Leplos. Takes out both supports. Not even with the Riptire. He just bombed them to hell and back. Gets both of them. Gesture, who just got revived, gets 2 more. The timing was absolutely perfect for London. And Nuss was very lucky because Leplos, he has no business dying there. He has no business dying before the final fight even starts going into overtime. You can't lose a Mercy with revive there. They were lucky. That's luck. That's not execution. That, my friend, is pure luck.
Yeah.
It worked out
some,
for him.
honestly, some of that is also that has to be the attacking faction or the attacking side. There has to look about how they're making use of it, because if you have Valkyrie, you need to be pressuring more. Than they need to get more pickoffs, honestly, and they need to get themselves positioned.
You got the Mercy. Like, how do you not win the fight when you kill the enemy Mercy?
You need to move yourself into position to prevent that Mercy from getting any more revives, like on her return.
You're not wrong.
So, Jack, Spitfire attack here, 2-3-1. Sombra coming out doesn't find value for a few fights. But Spitfire do find initiative in their last fight. That's all they need to grab a couple of kills, set up positioning. Once you got that, you're sort of set on a point here to capture it. They do. Rise and Lunar Colony, first turnaround map for Spitfire in their hope of...
This is London. This is New York giving it up. They sustained the EMP. They started with 425. They're on 315. We get Bedosin with the horrible EMP levels. They don't even kill the 50 HP Zenyatta. There was no follow-up because the team was scattered. The reason why I bring this up, I take you back to Oasis. Take you back to what people criticized London with their free ultimates and, the lack of coordination. That was this here. But they had so much time in the bank that they could drop the Sombra strat. They went to regular 2-2-2 Genji Tracer Leplos. 1 minute, 30 seconds left. You know what happens? Bedosin, the Zenyatta, right-click snipe onto Sabolbi. London get 2 more immediately after that. Arc force to Valkyrie. It's too late. The initiative has already been taken over by London. They increased the pressure, and that's it. The number. See, yep. I started this talking about earlier in the episode about these Zens. You're talking about Widow getting a snipe and then Mercy just undoing it. These Zens start so many fights with some random right-click kill across the map. He snipes Sabolbi.
Yeah.
Just boom, dead Leplos.
You're
he's
done.
on Tracer. And it's just like, you're dead. You lose Sabolbi in the middle of a fight, at the beginning of a fight, and he can't be revived immediately because of all the pressure? What do? You lose. But the door is now open, Leplos. London, it's 2-1. 2-1. Let's go.
Yeah, we're on to Nimbani as a 4th map here, and Spitfire on the attack, of course, first.
Should point out, Rascal in for Prophet. They bench Prophet, Leplos.
Yeah, Rascal in for the Fairview. And Jonak running on the Ana here for great holds off the start here by the NYXL. Rascal able to sort of break through this as his 76 racking up a number of kills and getting Nuss on Valkyrie up for an OT capture on a point here. Jack is still not happy about this.
Leplos, you have no... If I'm New York XL coaches... I'm screaming mad here because, again, Nuss is down before the final fight and you lose it. But you know what happens? He comes back at that perfect moment and he's got Valkyrie. The problem that I have, Arc and Jay Jonak used Valkyrie of their own and they used the Nano Boost because Jay Jonak was not on Zen. He was on Ana and he was free casting on Ana a lot and he was doing a lot of work here, Leplos. It's part of the reason why it came down to a final fight situation almost. They used both these support ultimates. I'm saying you've just sniped the enemy Mercy. You had the event. Like it was a cleanup fight kind of a deal. It wasn't a high pressure situation. I'm saying you use both support ults. Like, what do you? It's 30 set. What do you do, man? Like, Nuss has already shown he's gonna come back and he's gonna, go pixie mode and beat you. And this happens again here, Lepelos.
Definitely concerning. But still, it's an OT capture, Jax. NYXL
230.
defense in the second phase does come through. They got Riptire kills, two by Libero. Two
This was
Riptire
very
kills
strong
by
forward
Libero.
defense by New York Lepelos. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of teams after losing it last second would back off. They kept the pressure up here. It was 2 minutes and 30, I think, to push the second phase. They lost a minute and 15 just trying to get out of the spawn good,
And Jax,
because New York was all over them.
That's all you need. They end up holding just before B here. Huge play coming out of NYXL. That's a doable distance, right, Jax?
Second point on Numbani? Of course.
You just need to get through that A point. Jax, Spitfire, sort of a Junkrat Widow coming out, costs Rascal's life early.
They gave up 60.7% on the first fight.
The story from there, though, let's be honest, two things. Poor ultimate usage coming out of NYXL, something that we claimed was Spitfire's issue earlier in the match. And Bird Ring, finding picks when they matter, delaying when they matter, getting Jonak here at one point for one delay. And
this was a throw, Lepelos.
Yes.
Just jump to the end here. They don't get the first point. This was a throw by the New York Excelsior. We talked about them only needing second point. But you got to get the first point. Arc, again, with these Valkyries. Like, so that first fight where they got the 60.7%, you have to take your gains and then you back out, Lepelos. The fight was over. He Valks, trying to keep it going. You know what else? Jay Jonak pops Transcendence. What are you doing?
That is
just reset.
Trying to force it. I agree with you. That's them trying to force to get the second tick there. And I think it was a bad call.
That was more bad. You want to talk about bad calls? You think Libero on Genji the entire time is a good call? What's he doing with that Dragon Blade, Lepelos?
DPS
he
very
ain't doing
quiet.
Nothing.
DPS of NYXL very quiet here. Sabalbi also not doing enough work to get through. Spitfire hold
Bird Ring is just chilling. It's like Widow in the back. I'm sniping domes, and you letting me.
Yeah.
Come on.
Forcing this to a Game 5, Jax. We're on Dorado for Game 5 here. And again, obviously Spitfire attacking first. Immediately slowed down by Gesture dying out, coming out of the door. Kind of an issue. But Sabalbi doing work on that Widowmaker, Jackson, a new formation here on Dorado that we haven't seen. He's good to help delay Spitfire getting through that A point. It's a pretty slow attack because of his pickoffs for a couple of fights.
This was Fury. Fury getting the 2K self-destruct because they were all in that little room trying to hide, and he launched the bomb into the room.
Random,
and then after that, he got back in the mech Lepelos. It was, listen, this, yes, man, random. Okay, not see the reason why it's not so much random because he knew they were in this little room.
Yeah.
And if you know they're in a little room and they can't get out of this little room, you throw a bomb in there and they get blown up, which is what happened. But what wasn't random, he got his mech back Lepelos. He got another 2 kills, so he got 4 out of the 6. That's how they got that first point.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the first thing you need to do. And then from there, Birdring switching to Widow pays off.
Yes.
Sabalbi can't compare.
Nothing at all.
Yeah, quick B as a
2 minutes and 55 seconds to push the final third.
NYXL do shut down Spitfire in the third. The Libero switching to Junkrat paying off later on too, getting Nuss early one of those fights.
Lepelos.
Birdring though. Yeah. Jax, is this what you wanted to bring up?
No, you said in one of those fights. I can't believe this is the third map now, Lepelos. 9 seconds left on the attack. Nuss is down on Mercy with Valkyrie.
Does not seem like a championship team to me, Jax.
Why does this keep happening? I talk about the positioning, about he's more aggressive than Arc. He keeps putting himself out there and dying at key moments. And New York is letting him get away with it. For a second, Lepelos, I thought he had it again. Because Birdring goes hero here on the Genji. He gets 3 kills. Nuss is in, right? Off of respawn with the Valkyrie. He revives Gesture, who went down on the Winston. I'm saying to myself, Birdring just got 3 with the Dragon Blade. Nuss is flying around in pixie mode with the Valkyrie and just got his main tank up on Winston. They're going to do this. Except Nuss loses his mind and lets Gesture die? How does your Winston die when you're in pixie mode and your healing output is through the roof? Because you forget about him.
Yeah, troubling.
And
But
okay.
so they can't push through. They get held here.
2 points in 81.2
Still pretty
meters.
good. Here's
They
my.
almost got it, LeBlanc.
I'll come back around, but let's just go ahead and talk about NYXL attack here, Jax. I want to pick up this attack where they left off on Bonnie because I'm saying liberal on Genji. How do you feel about that?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I can't say no because he's a pro. He's a high level pro, tier 1 DPS.
So let's talk
mentally,
about this.
He should be able to rebound from this.
First
but
real
I
push.
have questions.
First real push shut down by Sabalbi getting killed by Birdring Widow. Not a surprise there. Liberal though, long flank here does pay off in getting Birdring.
You say long flank. I say he overextended and was stuck in the back line and made the best of a bad situation.
Listen, this isn't the first series this week that we've seen these really weird and long DPS flanks. Usually it's reserved for Anubis, it seems like. Sometimes we've seen that on Eichenwald as another. It's honestly, actually, I will not be surprised if it's a tactic that we'll see where you try and get one pick and send a flanker.
I refuse to allow you to tell me this was planned. No. This was not planned. It worked out because it made Birdring paranoid. Widow, I think that
was because he did come around on the back to engage the Widowmaker.
You know what happened? Who was it? Is it Janice was tanking? Janice leapt in and Birdring was focused on him. Janice forced him back, so he's on the ground level where he doesn't want to be, right?
Yeah.
Because Widow, so he backs out through the. If you think about Dorado, the doorway on the right side of first point, he backed out of there because Janice leapt on him and had the Winston bubble down, so he couldn't deal with that. He goes backwards. Guess who's there? It's Libero with the Genji. He's like, hi, I use deflect, and you have now killed yourself. So,
yeah, interesting play.
He got overextended, and Levelos, you cannot know. I refuse to let you tell me he did this on purpose.
I'm not saying like going all the way back was the plan, but definitely coming from the flank because you can come over that side there. That was part of the plan. It's just in the fight that they lost, he just had to go all the way back. That isn't planned. I agree with that. But the back side
you got to improvise, right? So props on him.
Yeah.
But I swear, Birdring he was so paranoid. He kept looking back.
I think that's a great play. Like he
never settle in. And the Widow wants to be settled, right? She wants to be able to do Widow-like things. He couldn't do it.
We're gonna move on, but that's exactly what Libero did not do.
4:33 to push the second point, Lepelos.
Yeah, they had plenty of time, and Jackson, speaking of bad flanking and Birdring not feeling comfortable, I think basically we can say that is the story of B point here. NYXL struggling to even get Courthouse at the start here. And then Riptire coming out at one point on two kills for supports.
Yeah.
Another Prophet continuing to do work, getting Arc another time early.
Lepelos.
Nothing off of Libero's Dragon Blade. It's like everything started going wrong here for NYXL.
Prophet Spam Rat was never dealt with. As a result, they had no. I think
Arc went down early 3 times and twice because of
in the final fight. Prophet, I think Prophet
Arc
died while running the Riptire, but he ran down Arc, right? So they didn't have that mercy there. But the issue here, and I think we said it in Discord multiple times, they didn't have a clean engage. 4.5 minutes left. They could never initiate on their terms ever. They were always under insane pressure. Someone was always dying. Quite often it was Arc or someone else. Birdring was just left alone to just snipe these heads. Prophet is spamming. Mako, fantastic work, Lepelos. He tried, right? In the final fight, he tried. He got Prophet, and I think he got someone else. So they got 2 kills, but you lose your mercy. Libero, Lepelos, I have in my notes, he looks like he hasn't recovered mentally from Numbani. He had that one good flank that was an accident, right?
On first.
What did he do on this game?
I think he said he had a Arhan Genji here. I can't remember. Dragon Blade come out.
For 2 maps now, Lepelos. For Numbani and now on Dorado, he's played this Genji. What has he done besides 1 kill onto Birdring?
Yeah, it was quite flat, honestly, Jax, and part of the reason why Spitfire went out here and win the first stage playoffs as a result of this. It was definitely a good response from them. Jax, I am going to say this, though, about NYXL. They put up a good match. I think if the okay, first off, I mentioned this off the start of the grand finals, the difference of the map pool here having 2
Right.
payload instead of 2 control point. One reason.
Yes.
I think the order of the maps also important there, Jax. I feel if New York Excel didn't get their confidence built up by the quick 2-0 with Oasis as the second map, if that Oasis was a fourth or third map, and they lost the second map or lost the third map, I think they would have been in a better place to
You think
have
they
like
lost
the
the edge?
comeback.
You think? I mean,
Yeah, they
I
lost their edge. They
I
thought
don't
they
want to
had
say
it.
the second map was a freebie, but it's Oasis, so it almost is. You still have to execute if you're in New York,
Yeah,
but
I'm not saying it's
it's
for sure, but
and they got pressed. Like this was the best I've seen. The thing is, I was going to say this is the best I've seen London play on Oasis, but it's the same problem, right? Their ultimates are poor, and they were lucky. Like they were lucky. New York was lucky here that they took Oasis, and going down the stretch, they fell apart, Lepelos.
they did.
Like
It's
this
concerning.
is
It's concerning for your team. You don't want to be the team that loses in the clutch, right? Like, and you don't want to become known from that because then
you
then
don't
it
want to be
gets in your
runaway,
head.
Lepelos.
Yeah,
Runaway lost Cox, and if you read what Cox wrote,
yeah, I did.
about
It's
his mental state, after this, it eats at you. Like
definitely
that got to him, Lepelos.
and part like so coaching right now, like whether I do think NYXL can remain at the top of the league right through to the end of the season right now. Obviously, there's can be a lot of movement, so I'm not guaranteeing that, but they look like they have it in them. Coaches have to work on this mental aspect of becoming a
Gotta close it out,
champion,
man. Like this
and
was theirs. You gotta what did we say? Champions, they close it out, right? Like
they do.
old lunatic high, or just
Jax,
when it comes down to it,
they
they
got to
find a
close it out.
way.
Jax, we're closing it out here though for stage one. We're gonna be back with stage two perhaps next week for discussions about
Okay.
that. But we do have the rest of the rundown to do
Do
quickly
we?
here. Because there's a bunch of other things. Some of it we watched actually this week, Jax.
I watched, but I didn't take
I
notes.
did not take notes either on everything. Beat Invitational was one of the things that ended up happening. I believe it was the lower bracket finals
Yeah.
and the grand finals that we did not manage to cover at all. If I'm not
It was lower bracket, so we stopped
upper
at the
bracket,
semifinals. So we had upper bracket finals, we had the entirety of the lower bracket, and of course the grand finals.
yeah, lower bracket ended up being a quick 3-0 by Envision over No Clout, 2-0 Li Zhang, 2-1 Kings Row, 2-1 Temple of Anubis. To force the rematch in Jack's one, the upper bracket was 3-0 pretty soundly for Fusion University over Envision Esports. I was not expecting necessarily the best series to come out, but I was surprised. Pretty interesting play happening. Obviously, maybe not the Overwatch League play unless you're talking about Fusion versus Mayhem, but here it's Fusion University versus Envision Esport under the new patch, and Envision making a game of it. 2-1 Anubis, 6-5 Kings Row Jacks. First two maps going side of Envision here. Fusion University responds 3-1 Dorado, 2-0 Lijiang Tower, 3-1 Hollywood. They're on match point. Envision says, we won a game 7, Elios 2-1. And Route 66, it's that map. Fusion University closed it out barely 3-2 on that map, managing to defend against Envision's attack there. In third is all that it took for them to win out the Beat Invitational Season 3. Close one, Jackson.
This was a really good series. I did not know. I didn't expect the grand finals to. I didn't expect the grand final to be this good. Fusion really strong play in the upper bracket final. I felt like I didn't think Envision had it, but Envision came back. They made whatever adjustments. As you know, that's my word for this week is adjustments. They made fantastic adjustments here. And I'm looking at these teams and I'm saying to myself, Fusion, Envision. I think both of them could play Shanghai and Florida Mayhem pretty well, Lepelos. Maybe quite possibly beat them. But I guess we'll see. Fusion automatically in contenders. Envision, I believe, are also in contenders. But for some of these other teams, right, if you're looking ahead, like Congarna, gotta admit, bit of a disappointment for Congarna Lepelos. The roster that they put together, going out in lower bracket first round to the Savages, like you don't expect that. So they have some stuff to work on over there. But
definitely.
good tier 2 play here.
Listen, they're trying not to have the NRG tag of old on them,
Oof.
but we'll see. We'll see or Kungarna, Jax. I mean,
Yep.
neither of those names are names you want to be associated with, even though they have the Kungarna team name. But we'll see how they do going forward into future events. That's all you can ask for teams, is to work on their consistency.
Yep.
Jax, let's go ahead and talk about the PIT Europe results. We were in the playoffs where we left off last week. I believe in the semifinals we had.
Yep. More of the same. Yeah.
The upper bracket finals, those guys versus Piece of Cake went down for the upper bracket finals. Those guys taking that 3-1 over Piece of Cake. Down in the lower bracket, Angry Titans worked their way past Squid 1-2-3-2-4 in a 2-0. Angry Titans 2-1 over CIS Hope. And then they also managed the 3-0 over Piece of Cake to get themselves into the final against those guys. But unfortunately, they could not do any more of those guys, taking it 3-0 in the final here, and a sound victory too.
Dominant
2-0
performance out
Nepal.
of those guys in EU, Leplos. I mean, in the group stages, 4-0 with an 8-1 map line. If you look at the playoff stage, 2-0 in their quarterfinal game, 2-0 in their semifinal game, 3-1 in the upper bracket final, and then 3-0 in the grand finals.
Jax,
they dropped 2 maps the entire tournament.
with Half Equal on their team, if they're doing this well online, I can only wait until I see how well they do at a LAN. But
that's not right, Leplos. But Craggy, Kib, have a cool Fusions, Block, Crusade. This is a solid lineup here.
And they look well practiced, to be honest, too. So
yeah,
they're coming through here. That's huge. Jax, this week it looks like the group stages of the PIT North America.
This came. I had no idea. You know me. I've been looking
talked
for
about how
this
little
came out of nowhere, and then I'm looking at my at the website I use for schedules for games. I'm like, wait, what? What is this? And this afternoon, I see it's North America PIT. I'm like, okay, that's not much notice. But here we are.
There's not a lot of results right now. Kungarna do win a game, so trying to make up for it. Unfortunately, there's one team that is now 0-2 because they played apparently both games here. LCG Overwatch being that team that lost 2 games, one being to Kungarna.
I mean, look at the names on that team: Ultima Web, Shrugger, Ninja Nick. We've seen a lot on a lot of these teams, a lot of these players, that are on LCG Overwatch. Kungarna, though, I said before, I was a little disappointed in their beat performance. So far, day 1 of PITNA, they look a lot better. They made those adjustments, as you know is my word.
We'll see how they fare up against like No Cloud.
This is only day 1. I want to looking at this. I mean, look at the group they're in, Lepelos.
Yeah,
they're in a group with Fusion University. I just talked about how well I felt Fusion was playing in the Beat Invitational. I want to see, can Kungarna, will those adjustments carry on?
For me,
they play. Tomorrow, Lepelos, tomorrow. Fusion University versus Kungarna.
I'm interested in the one I have nobody on it that I know of that I can think of on Fractal Esports in this group.
You say that, Lepelos. Fractal Esports is the team that just won the Open Division for North America.
Exactly.
I haven't watched any of their games yet. So have just gone from using controllers to keyboards, although there's rumors that their Mercy player might still use a controller. I hope those are not correct rumors, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do. I mean, their first game tomorrow is against Fusion University, Lepelos.
I'm a little concerned about Group 2, Jack, where there's still 2 teams to be determined.
I mean, here's the deal, right? Like we're coming up on contender stuff, right? We're hearing Fusion have a team. Where are they, Lepelos? Where are these other contenders teams at? What are they doing? Why is the Fusion the only one in? I mean, it's the reason I pointed out is because Philadelphia was the team we had nothing. We knew nothing about coming into the Overwatch League because their players were late getting into the country. And now it's like they've learned, right? They said, we don't want to go into that situation. We don't want to have that happen again. We're coming out early, fast, and strong. Then again, perhaps you're showing your competition what you can do. But at least I see something from Fusion. With the Gladiator University, who's on that team, Lepelos?
Yeah,
where's my information?
That is true, Jackson. Let's go ahead though. Talk about Chinese scene where we have the Team Story Chapter 4 happening.
Is that still going on?
We're talking about Group D and what was going to happen.
Lepelos, they do a group a week.
They do. They do a group a week, and this was Group D this week.
Holy crap!
Not a surprise at the top here. XX Gaming 3-0. Yeah. We had no idea where Super Number 1 was going to be because we hadn't really seen them, but it wasn't going to be a surprise if they ended up where they did, 4th. And we also mentioned that this might happen. Team Scata's Gift earning that 2nd place with a victory over Vici Gaming.
What did they do? Vici, I give up, dude. I give up with Vici.
Yeah, it's one of the things. It was a close match between the two. It's 2-1, including a draw on Horizon Colony of 5-5 Jacks for the 3rd map. So
Yeah.
this was a close matchup here between Team Scatus Gift and Vici Gaming, but
Vichi's so inconsistent. Oh man. But so we're going into the playoffs, and lo and behold, Lepelos, the playoffs don't start for another 2 weeks.
yeah, so we'll be back in time with coverage for that. Coming next week, though, we're going to be talking about the PIT Season 2 for North America. That's ongoing this week. We also have TESPA Collegiate Series, I think, is this upcoming week. So something to look forward to ending.
This has been, Lepelos, this started in November. Yeah. It's now February.
It's cool.
They had a hell of a break. Like, I think...
I mean, listen, these are students that are doing things, right? So...
Lepelos, the last game, December 3rd. If you look at the link, the quarterfinals was on December 3rd. We're now going to the semifinals here. Wait, I think this Low Lives team, is that not your
U of T, I believe, University of Toronto?
Yeah, that's your team. So we've got yeah.
We'll probably do some coverage. Going against Cal Esports on the other side of the semifinals. It's UCL Esports versus Defenders of Gayside. I don't know who.
They use weird names. I would have to go back to my notes from actually, hold on. You said it's Defenders of University of California at San Diego are the Defenders of Geisel, and your team
UCI.
UCI, is that I or is that an L?
I'm not entirely sure.
University of California at Irvine. Okay. That's what it is. It's
so
UCI.
Essentially, you're telling me we have 3 Californian teams and 1 good team. I'm just joking, but in all honesty, it is sort of funny that California teams seem to be doing well in the TESPA collegiate scene across the board. So we'll see how it shakes out.
University of Toronto did good last season, they
did do well. Listen, up in the cold white north, sometimes you have nothing else to do but warm yourself up at the computer screens. I know from my undergrad that there are some hardcore StarCraft players back in the day that would use the computers down in our labs. Maybe it's gone over to Overwatch these days with upgrades in the past 15 years. I don't know. Probably haven't actually gotten upgrades. So that is what we're looking forward to next week. And of course, Jax, we have the preview of Overwatch League Stage 2.
We only get 1 week off before we're back in to Overwatch League.
We got this other stuff to cover, Jax. It's a lighter week.
Midweek signing period. Florida is teasing 3 signings. Shanghai rumored to have 3 signings. I need the Los Angeles Gladiators to have 3 signings.
Do you want teasers about 3 signings or
no? Give me names so I can criticize them.
So you don't want like announcements of the teasers, trailers to the potential people?
Not at all.
Not at all. Well, Jackson, we're not going to tease you guys. We are coming to the end of our show tonight. So thanks for sticking with us. We're going to be on again next week with everything we just said right there. But Jax, anything you want to say to wrap it up here? It's been a great stage 1.
Stage 1, fantastic. Started out strong, then I got a little worried, then it picked up, and that final was really good. Congrats to London, though, Lepelos.
Yeah.
14 hours. They were in that studio for 14 hours because No Numbers Dancer has said they plan on taking a look at the schedule because they realize that's asking a bit much. But I mean, is it when it's a championship, right? You expect your champions to be able to handle that.
It makes for an interesting storyline, though, for sure, right? Like, adds a lot to it. But listen, from the labor standpoint, maybe this is why they hired the extra desk personnel, Jax.
No, well, we had Golden Boy for one series, and then we had I think we had Golden Boy for the regular week games, and then they brought out Puckett for the playoffs. You know, so we'll see.
But that's it for us. So you guys can follow us on Twitter at OWRundown. I'm at Leplos. He's at Jax_Blake there. Weekly, we'll be back on next Sunday, 9 PST-ish on Twitch.
Stop by the Discord, hang out. Help us, we talk all things Overwatch on Discord. Talk, other games, but mainly a lot of Overwatch. All the news and drama that we don't really cover on the podcast, we do cover in the Discord. Just stop by. Yeah. You don't even have to say. You could lurk if you want.
We've got a few lurkers. I'm happy to have lurkers. I lurk most places. Like,
Leplos, you don't even lurk on your own TeamSpeak anymore. People are always asking, where is Leplos? I haven't seen Leplos in weeks.
It was because I've had a bad back, Jax. I've had a bad back. Honestly, I've been spending most of my time like on the couch or trying to stretch or whatever, not in this chair that I've been sitting on
Or
for these.
playing Metal
'Cause it
Gear
hurts.
Solid. I found you out, Lepelos.
Oh,
But
that's a game that I can play on the couch, honestly, and that's why
all
I've been
right.
doing that.
Episode 73 complete.
Yeah. All right.
Wait, twitch.tv/Lepelos Sunday night. I said that right? Yes, I did.
Now you have. Now you have.
And YouTube. Just Google YouTube Lepelos. You'll find us there too. And now he's playing the outro music, I think.
Of course, I'm playing the outro music, Jax.
All right.
All right. Well, that does do it for the